Hello, Internet! Welcome to this week's episode of the Nerd Eye Council.
Yeah, boy! I had to throw my flavor flavor in there. Darth Payne in the house.
Yes, and Darth Payne. I am Nate the Great as usual.
Wreck-It
Ralph. And of course, as always, we will try to keep you informed, entertained,
and our
perhaps
special guest.
have a laugh or two along the way. And we are joined by a special guest this week as well. Darth Ginger.
Yay!
Yay! I am not special.
I made it all by myself.
So, this week's episode, we're going to... Well, we're just going to hit all fields. We're going to hit everything. News-related, upcoming movies, and stuff like that, and...
We're going to spend an hour and a half talking about Donald Trump's presidency. Just kidding.
Go ahead, Nate. Start it off.
Just kidding.
Boo!
No, we're going to do what we do best and just wander through the galaxy.
Of unknown.
Well, whatever the hell we want to talk about. But...
Exactly, and I figure I'll start us off on this big thing that I've been holding for the last 2 weeks.
I'm sorry. I should have put it back in my pants a long time ago.
Big dog's dropping bombs.
Alright, so I came across this an article a couple weeks ago about what could have possibly caused the separation between Han Solo and Princess Leia.
It was the Illuminati.
Good one.
And
Maybe she did something bad and had to go to jail.
That is a good...
And Han made a reference, or it was either Han or Leia made a reference about a profound tragedy that befell them and that kind of led to their splitting apart. And
I heard she embezzled a bunch of money.
embezzling out of the rebellion.
Where's the sound effect?
Han didn't know anything about it, so shut the fuck up. Leave Han Solo out of this. He's a good man.
So the quote from this is the quote from Leia is that from episode 7. Quote, "That's why I wanted him to train with Luke. I just never should have sent him away. That's when I lost him and you both." And then Han responded, "We had to deal with it in our own way."
So after he turned bad, then he split.
Say that again. Sometimes my brain's...
Alright, so Leia said, "That's why I wanted him to train with Luke. I just never should have sent him away. That's when I lost him and you both." And then Han responded, said, "We had to deal with it in our own way."
Yeah.
So the question is, what was the it that Han was referring to?
Maybe
Well, you stumbled upon something good there. That's probably a big plot point in the trilogy, I would assume.
probably had him going to the dark side, right?
That's what I gathered from it when I seen it. When they were talking about it, I had pretty much just assumed that when he went to the dark side, that's when everything kind of fell apart for the family.
But he didn't go... based upon the vision that we see in Episode 7 that Rey has, isn't it kind of assumed that he doesn't go to the dark side until he's already training with Luke?
Maybe Han Solo didn't
Who
want him to
was
go.
it? Who was it that said... I know they don't say he did it, but we assume he did it. Who was it that said that how did they word it? That somebody turned and killed all the Jedi?
It was Han Solo. He told Rey. Wasn't it Rey? She said, "So Luke Skywalker and the Jedis are real," or something like that. What happened to Luke? And he said that he was trying to train
He was betrayed by his Padawan.
Yeah, he was trying to train a new class of Jedis, and then one of his apprentices turned on him and killed all the students, Padawans.
So we assume it was him, but we don't.
We don't know.
We don't know for sure. Mm-hmm. But if we assume that it was Kylo, then it couldn't have been him starting to go to the dark side that made her go, "Hey, we got to send him to Luke." Or I don't know.
Maybe he was, and he sent her to Luke to straighten him out.
And then he ended up going to the dark side anyway. I think it has something. Here's my opinion. I think it has something to do with Vader.
You think?
Yeah, I think. Well, maybe he stumbled upon something of his grandfather's.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't talk about Darth Vader. I mean, obviously, Leia was out horning around in the galaxy trying to play general and senator. I'm kidding. Gosh, it's way too soon for all that. We do miss Carrie Fisher, and I'm just joking around. But he was neglected, I assume,
By his father.
by both of them. And where was I going with this? So yeah, I assumed that it was something to do with Vader. Like he found something of Vader's, and like that's when somebody clued him in. Like, this is your grandfather, and he was a Sith, and maybe that's when they're like, okay, we need to send him with Luke because there's a seed. Maybe he was in, you know what I mean? Like if your kids watch a scary movie, and then you're like, all right, and go to your room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know what I was thinking about that also was that maybe he went and trained with Luke, and while he was training with Luke, he found out about Darth Vader being part of his family. And since Luke didn't, maybe Luke just hid that fact from him, and when he found out, he felt betrayed by Luke.
Maybe he knew about Vader. I mean, I would assume someone with Force powers would know the legend of Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. 30 years into the future. Maybe he knew about Vader and was kind of intrigued by Vader. And then when he was with Luke is when Luke was like, so Vader was your grandfather. And maybe that's when he snapped. I don't know. But this implies that there is a very big it.
Right. Okay. Well, then the article went on to say, okay, so what destroys families forever? What event?
I think it's
possible.
I think the it factor, is the fact of him going to be a Jedi. And I don't think Han Solo wanted him to be a Jedi. And that's when girls rule. So,
Like, boy, you were supposed to be a pirate like Daddy.
yep. And she wanted him to be part of pick up the family tradition. So he went to go be a Jedi, and Han didn't like it. And Han left. And then Han finds out about his son going crazy and shit, and never came back.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah, it could be. But the article said, so what is possible to destroy a family? And the article said loss. Mm-hmm. Possibility the loss of a child. And then it said, okay, so if we're going on that, what else happened at around this time? Well, I mean, just so happened that a little girl with no memories just happens to arrive on Jakku for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rey is quoted here. It says, I don't know how or why I got here, but I know it was a mistake, and somebody out there will make things right someday. I mean, I need to wait for them. Or that means I need to wait for them. So in the conclusion of this article, they made the prediction that Rey was taken from the Solo family, and that was the profound tragedy that caused them to split apart.
So who would have dropped her off on Jakku?
That's the question.
Think it was Han Solo. That's why they used that ship, because it was a different ship. Remember, he lost it.
What if it was Luke? What if this happens, Luke realizes that he will go after Rey and try to turn Rey, so he goes to Leia and Han.
Who will go after Rey?
Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren would try to recruit Rey to go study the dark arts.
See, I think I have...
And he tells Han and Leia his plan to take her to this planet, and to, if they ever ran into her again, to not give away that they're related. You know, so now that my daughter,
so it doesn't screw with her head.
It doesn't screw with her head, and it kind of is a safeguard.
See, I always thought that maybe she's
that
the one.
That could explain why Leia didn't have a reaction. Maybe she was told,
she couldn't.
Don't react because you could put her in danger or something like that. It's possible.
See, I was going to say a lot of this question boils down to who you believe Rey is.
Right. That's the big question going into toward the end of this year.
And I gotta be honest with you, man. Like, if their original idea, if Disney's original plan was that this chick is a Skywalker, and then we got to the point and they left it in such a weird cliffhanger that everybody, here we are now, over a year later, and all these theories about who she is have circled around. I'm gonna be really disappointed if she's a Skywalker now. I really am.
Well, she said that her parents were pretty much already figured out who they were.
I heard.
She thought it was pretty clear who
that
it was.
It was pretty obvious. I heard her say, there was a quote she made about that.
And then Kylo Ren also said to Rey that you look to Han Solo as a father figure, but he would disappoint you. So that means that I don't think that would be Han Solo's daughter then, right?
We can also talk about remember I don't know what video game it was, but
it was Disney Infinity. My son got it, and if you put Rey and Kylo Ren on the little portal together, the first thing he says to Rey is, "So we meet again, cousin," or something like that. But he says cousin.
He does. I actually saw a video for it. But I'm going to throw this out there for you guys to think about. Because we know what George Lucas said years ago, that I wrote 9 episodes. And then, after most people didn't necessarily like the prequels, at that point he said, no, actually I wrote 6. There is no 7, 8, and 9. But now he's saying, no, I wrote all 9, and they don't want mine. And so we know now that there was 9 episodes. Disney looked at it, read it, and was like, yeah, we're going to do something a little different. Now, whether it was better or worse, I don't know. We'll never know. But...
yeah, we'll never know.
And now factor in, and we're going to talk about this a little bit, about Carrie Fisher's passing away and how that affects the future of this trilogy. And I kind of think that it seemed like maybe in 2012 or 13 when we found out Disney was going to make these movies, that they're gonna just do what George had written. It seemed that way. Am I right? In the beginning? And now it seems more and more to me that Disney is just kind of going as they go along.
I thought George Lucas is the one who announced it.
The deal? Or
announced the deal that Disney was going to be doing the movies.
He announced that he sold it.
I remember hearing it the first time in my car at 4 a.m. I almost wrecked the car.
Right?
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I remember, weirdly enough, because my whole life I've not been the biggest fan of the mouse.
Yeah.
One of these days we're going to have a podcast about conspiracies, and one of my favorite topics is how Disney's the Antichrist.
Oh my god. Yes, that mouse is the Antichrist.
But it's kind of funny to me because I remember back then going, what the fuck? Why would they do that?
Yeah.
Why would George give that to Disney? And now, it's like, damn.
Yeah.
What a great decision.
Now it seems like
we might have got 3 shitty episodes that...
with Jar Jar's family.
Right. I mean, who knows what George had written down.
The rise of Jar Jar.
Right.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
And you know what? I'm one of those people, I defend George quite a bit. I do. Because you don't have Star Wars.
I defend him in his early days, but his later days...
You know what happened to and I like the prequels. I'm not a prequel hater. It kind of pisses me off when people are like,
no, I don't hate them.
Those movies suck. They don't suck.
I like episode 1 and episode 3.
But they got a little, extravagant. Yeah. You know, when you
cartoonish.
Try to do too much.
Yeah, when you look at, the lightsaber battles and shit, don't get me wrong, some of them were cool. Some of it was, in hindsight now, damn, really?
Yeah.
You overdid it.
It was too colorful, too bright.
It was.
It reminded me of the Batman movies that after Michael Keaton did. Remember how they always use so many colors?
That's
pink
a
and
pretty good
purple
point.
and-
The Joel Schumacher Batman.
Yeah, reminded me of those, but not as bad, obviously, as Batman. There wasn't no nipples on
No, but there were some.
Jedi suits.
I still have there's some major issues I have with some of the
Picture
prequel parts.
Obi-Wan.
I mean,
Nipples.
I got tassels.
the Emperor. I think they made the Emperor a lot less scary. You know, when I watched the trilogy, the Emperor was like, that dude's fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Like, he was like this weird old pedophile or something. He was just spooky. You didn't know much about the Emperor. You didn't know why he was doing what he was doing. He was just fucking pure evil.
Yeah.
And after,
find your boy and bring him to me.
and after the prequels, he's kind of like, oh, he's just a fucked up politician who was making a power grab. And,
Yep.
and I don't know, it was less.
It was-
They took the scare out of the Emperor. And we can sit here and pick. We can make a 2-hour podcast about what the fuck was wrong with the prequels. Believe me, there's plenty to talk about. Why the hell? Seriously, guys, let's address a couple of things as long as we're on this subject.
Go ahead, preach it.
Why the hell did they find the most robotic little boy on the face of the planet?
Who was that? That little kid that played Anakin?
Yeah, in episode 1, his fucking acting was terrible.
Yeah.
I think you're a Jedi. I mean,
Now this is pod racing.
right. I mean, I get
Yeah.
it. I walked out of there saying they should have like. There should have been like an evolution of the kid. Like, okay, yeah, show him when he's 8. Like, here he is, and then fast forward to when he's 12. And
He's a different kid.
Right, he's got some fucking issues already at 12. 'Cause we all had issues at 12.
And Jeremy walks out of episode 1. Fuck that kid.
I did kinda. You know what I said when I walked out of episode 1? I remember, I turned to my friend and I said, episode 2, bro, Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be Anakin. I did.
That was Titanic year, too. 97, wasn't it? When the whole Star Wars thing started coming
99.
No, 99 was episode
99.
1.
Okay.
And what year was Titanic?
97.
97, so this is after Titanic. Well, it still would have been shortly after.
But if you look at that kid, Jake, whatever his name is, who never did shit after that
He did,
because he was a terrible actor.
He did that movie Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
jeez.
I
He was
think
in
that
that?
was the only... Yeah.
He was in that? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
he was a little kid from Jingle All the Way. He
I
was
remember the movie.
He
I
was
don't remember.
Schwarzenegger's son. I want a Turbo Man doll. Remember?
He was just... even at 8 years old, you should have had the kid a little bit off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was too like, I'm just a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, it was...
Like, no, motherfucker, you're a slave and you don't even know who your father is. You ought to have issues.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm just happy to build stuff for this alien.
Yeah.
Get to work,
Right.
Eddie. And he's like, okay, I almost said Jar Jar. Okay, Watto. I mean, you'd think this kid would been like, fuck this dude, man. Where's my dad at?
Yeah. Yeah, he...
And, you know, and really, that was like our first glimpse of who Darth Vader was.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking, like, wow, he was really chipper.
I think
But I
maybe that's
did-
what they wanted you to see. Like, he was a regular
That he
normal
was a
kid,
normal kid.
and, you know...
But he was never a normal kid. If you wanted me to believe that it was just some normal kid that bad shit happened to him, bad shit happened to him from day one.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been a normal kid.
Right.
And I think that's why he was so... I don't know, so gifted with the, what do they call it, metachlorians, when Qui-Gon did the test.
And you know, people hate on that whole scenario. I don't mind it. I really don't.
They made it sound like everybody's got metachlorians, and everyone can be a Jedi, and everybody can use the Force.
Well, it wasn't it Qui-Gon Jinn that says metachlorians make up all the life in the universe.
Yeah, so
So
basically
it's just
it was
energy, pretty much.
right, which is like just like our universe. So
Yeah.
basically, this was George's way of saying, without getting religious, this is George's way of saying, okay, they're like atoms, like they're in everything.
Yeah.
They're in you, they're in the stars, they're in that cup on the table. But this little kid, like every Jedi, has like a shit ton of these atoms, and
Yeah.
like that's how the Force talks to you and stuff, because the Force can talk to anybody, and we kind of saw a little bit of that in Rogue One with Chirrut,
Yeah.
who obviously didn't have Force powers, but could channel the Force.
Yeah.
So,
That's the blind guy, right?
yeah.
The Asian sensation.
Yes.
So, I don't know. Everybody always hates on the midichlorians. You know what, man? Whatever Qui-Gon said was law.
It's Liam Neeson, so.
He's like, and if you don't believe me, I'll whip my cock out and
How long
I'll
is
prove you all wrong.
Liam Neeson's penis is so long.
Right. I don't know. Thoughts about the prequels, guys? Where did they go wrong?
Oh, God.
Qui-Gon getting killed so early.
All right, let me
Yeah.
ask you guys this, since we're on the subject for a moment, and then we move forward. But because I'm always like, I listen to podcasts about Star Wars, and most of the people are like, yeah, the prequels are so bad,
Yeah.
and I'm always kind of like, they're not really that bad. I can turn it on and watch it, and I can't say that about every movie, but in your opinion, what was shitty about the prequels? What stands out to you like, man, that was fucking stupid?
Oh, episode 2. Half of that movie was like Days of Our Lives, like a soap opera. You know, I could watch episode 1.
That's my least favorite.
I could watch the beginning of episode 2, and I could watch the end of episode 2. Halfway through, I could sleep.
Yeah.
You know, the sad thing about episode 2 is it started out with such great potential.
Yeah.
The beginning of the movie with the assassination attempt,
Yeah.
and you get to see, and all of a sudden, because I remember with Phantom Menace thinking, man, I know he's young and all, but Ewan McGregor is not selling Obi-Wan to me. And then by episode 2, I was like, oh shit, yeah, I can see this guy being Obi-Wan with the beard and the English accent and everything. So yeah, it started off really fucking good, and by this point he was a teenager and had issues, and I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And then it went downhill from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, if I could pick, it would be Qui-Gon getting killed off so early. I think they should have waited to Order 66. That would have been cool. Have him more into it. And then that could have made him go to the dark side even more because he looked up to Qui-Gon. And Jar Jar Binks.
Wreck-It Ralph and I are both big Qui-Gon fans.
Love him.
He's probably my favorite Jedi. I mean, Luke's a close second for me, but yeah, I love Qui-Gon, and I agree he killed him way too soon. And I often thought, maybe Qui-Gon. He is Qui-Gon to me.
He's Qui-Gon. He ain't Liam Neeson.
Maybe Liam Neeson was like, all right, I'll do one movie, but you have to kill me.
He did a lot of, what's that called?
Maybe he didn't want to get locked down and be like, I'm not doing all 3.
I heard George Lucas was getting pissed off at him because he kept improvising his lines.
And I think that's what saved episode 1.
Yeah, he improvised. He didn't go off of the
I
script.
heard that too.
Yeah. I think it's pretty badass. So, I mean, if you could improvise a Star Wars movie.
Dude, he was built to be a Jedi.
Yeah.
That guy just...
And you know what we've touched upon there being like, you know, hopefully one day there's like an Obi-Wan movie. I would like to see a Qui-Gon movie.
Yeah, me too.
Because
Backstory.
like we've actually said before, he was the first Jedi to be able to get in touch with how to become a Force ghost.
Yeah,
and
they
everything.
never really
I would
explained
like to
that.
see more of his life story.
Or at least explain to us the whole Force Ghost thing and how Qui-Gon figured that shit out.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the coming movies. At least take 5 minutes or 3 minutes and go, yeah, well, this
because
is...
it shows how, you know, Qui-Gon came back as a Force ghost, Obi came back, Yoda came back, even Vader came back at the end of episode 6. But
Sebastian Shaw.
But
Poor guy.
it doesn't show how they learned how to take on that trait.
Right. Yeah, it mentions it in 3. Yoda mentions it like, oh, Qui-Gon will be contacting you. And he's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And then Force Ghosts. And that's their heaven, man. So for me, I believe in heaven. I want to know more about it. Like, well, how do you get to heaven? How does that shit work in the Star Wars universe?
And Yoda wasn't even able to get in touch with that until, in episode 2 when Yoda came back and he heard Qui-Gon getting in contact with him when Anakin started flipping out on all the...
how did...
The sand people?
Yeah, on all the sand people when he was dying. And that when he was killing all the sand people and Yoda was meditating, he heard Qui-Gon trying to reach out to Anakin.
Yeah, he was yelling, "No, Anakin."
He's like, Anakin, and he started getting in touch with Qui-Gon in Episode 2, and then in Episode 3 was telling Obi-Wan to look after the boy, but meditate. Qui-Gon will get in touch with you, and all and that, and then somewhere in that timeline, Obi-Wan mastered that trait to become a Force ghost
basically
when he
just
came.
sacrificed
when he died.
himself.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, well, how did Master Yoda not figure it out, but Qui-Gon did? Doesn't that say something about who Qui-Gon was?
Yeah.
Like his
Right.
importance in the whole universe? Like,
Yeah.
Master fucking Yoda, Grandmaster. And he's like, how'd you pull that shit off?
Well,
Was it heaven? Like, Yoda didn't even know about heaven?
Do that? I did not.
Well, now I have purpose to my life.
I think Yoda or Qui-Gon was just so... He was like the ultimate Jedi in Episode 1. You know? And I think... That's what I think. He just knew everything. He was...
well,
Yeah, I just remember in Episode 1 with the big fight scene at the end when he is waiting for Maul and he kneels down. I remember
And he
watching,
closes his
and I'm like, they
eyes.
pray? Yes!
Yeah, they were... That's what I was thinking, too. I was like, he's either praying or he knows he's going to die.
Yeah.
And he's just getting it out there.
well,
Or
and-
maybe he did that and he was becoming one with the Force.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Coming in, he's like, okay, I'm gonna become one with the Force now. And then fight. Oh, I'm dead.
And
Maybe at that point, like, he kind of knew, like, I can't take this guy.
Yeah. Yep. Because he said that his powers, when he fought him on the planet, right before he took off, he said, I don't know who, but his powers were really, he was really powerful, more powerful than I was or something like
He
that.
does say something
he was
about
very skilled in the Force.
Yeah.
With the Force.
He's a trained.
So what do you think, Nate Dogg? What do you hate about the prequels?
Didn't care too much about Hayden Christensen.
Really?
I think every
If
guy
my ex
hates
was in
Hayden
the room, she'd
Christensen.
be like, fuck you!
Every guy
He
hates
made the prequels.
But yeah, I don't hate him, but I see your point. I see your point for sure.
Well, if you weren't a
It
big
should've
fan,
been Leo.
who would you have liked to see play as Anakin?
Leonardo DiCaprio. Screw it.
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it was either the writing and how he acted that didn't just seem right, because it made Anakin kind of have to be a whiny little bitch.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know if it was episode 2 or episode 3, but it was the scene where he's telling Padme, he's like, I hate sand. It's all coarse and it gets in your shoes
Yeah.
and it hurts or something like that. I'm like, what?
Just like
You-
Luke,
This is fucking Vader?
just
What?
like Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker was a little bitch in Episode 4, playing with his little spaceships, wanting to be
Right.
in the
Zoom,
academy,
zoom.
and complaining to Uncle Owen or bitching about shit. And he was like 19 already, or 18.
And this guy's supposed to rule the universe one day.
Save the universe.
It's just like, I don't know, maybe it's just because they both didn't have a father figure growing up. I don't know.
I mean, that could be.
He was
We're
sheltered
talking
as
about
a child.
how
Mama loved him so
Anakin
much.
was a whiny little bitch, and Luke Skywalker was like that in Episode 4.
Watto didn't hug him enough as a child.
Why didn't hug him enough?
Annie, come here, my boy. Let me show you something about this here.
Just goes to show you what over-sissified kids turn into.
Exactly. Chew your food. 2 more bites, you're done.
Aw, mommy's boy.
Mommy's boy.
You don't need to clean that mess. I got
I got it. You got a cough? You can stay home from school.
But anyways,
Damn kids
But
nowadays.
You know what? I did want to touch back on what you were saying about how Yoda didn't know about the Force Ghost deal, how to master that trait, and it kind of touched back in my head a little bit. How we were saying that the Council is so by the book, is like how Yoda's supposed to be the initial Jedi, where embody what Jedi are supposed to be like, all straight line, don't veer from the path, blah, 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 blah. Whereas Qui-Gon was kind of like the rebel of
Kind
the
of like
Jedi.
kind of like Kylo in a way.
Yeah.
You know how they're that's a good point. That's a good point, Darth Ginger, because in the new trilogy they're really kind of focusing on like, well, in order to be a really powerful Jedi, you have to kind of have both dark and light.
Mm-hmm.
And that's maybe where the Jedi went wrong.
They were supposed to be so disciplined. Don't go looking don't go looking for power. That's a path to the dark side. Pretty much be happy with what you got. Whereas,
wouldn't it blow our minds if they told us in these next two movies that Qui-Gon was going to,
Go to the dark side?
yeah,
Him and Dooku?
and it was like planned?
That would have been
Because
awesome.
Dooku hints at that.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, one of the better scenes in 2, he's like, no, you don't understand. He was.
Yep.
He was with me.
well,
Your master would have done it. He's basically telling him.
well, he almost did at one point. Like if you read into like the comics and everything like that, when Qui-Gon's on and off girlfriend, whatever you want to call her,
Yeah.
not official boyfriend, girlfriend, go
Qui-Gon's
study,
piece of ass.
yeah,
Side chick.
yeah,
Side chick.
whatever you want to call her. When she died, he went looking for vengeance, and she
Got in his head?
she got in his head and was kind of like his conscience saying, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
You're leading the wrong path and blah, 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 blah. And then that kind of, kept him in line. At the same time, he was still kind of free thinking,
Yep.
Maybe that's why Master Yoda was just short-sighted. He couldn't, because he was so all about doing the light side of the Force.
Yeah, because he didn't want to, he wasn't supposed to train him. And he said, I can't train you officially, so just watch what I do and learn what I do. And so he did go against the council.
Right. All right, we've got other subjects to talk about. We can go back to Star Wars, but everything leads back to Star Wars.
Everything does
Everything.
lead back to Star Wars. Well, a little bit of news. Peter Dinklage is in talks to join Infinity War.
Okay, remind me, Peter.
Peter Dinklage. She
I
played
know the name.
Bolivar Trask in Days of Futures Past, the little midget.
Yeah.
Oh, he's on Game of Thrones.
Oh.
Yeah.
All you gotta
That
say
guy.
is that guy, the little midget guy.
Call me Elf one more time.
You must be a South Pole elf.
In talks to do what?
In talks to be in Avengers 3.
Oh, wow.
That's what?
Unknown yet. But rumor is that he is, I can't remember the character's name, but it's looking like he might play the character who was the creator of the Infinity Gauntlet,
Oh, really?
who actually constructed it.
Oh, they're reaching in for their own Yoda.
Yeah. Yep, that little guy has got so much power, it's ridiculous.
He was a test tube baby between Yoda and Leia.
Little bit of this, little bit of that. Episode 8, Kylo Ren will be dogfighting
Oh,
in Episode 8.
I heard something about he's gonna have his own.
He's going to have his own modified TIE fighter in the construction like of Vader's.
Yes, grandfather.
And apparently it's going to be in a scene where he's escorting new model TIE bombers.
Mine has flames on the side, though. It's just like yours, grandfather, but it's cooler.
And dice in the mirror.
Right. And fuzzy dice.
Fuzzy dice.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I heard that too, which is awesome. Yeah, TIE bombers, I heard that too. They're going to bring TIE bombers back, or probably a newer version.
Yeah, I think they're going to be, there's going to be a new model of a TIE bomber.
What I was thinking about this. I couldn't think about what does a TIE bomber look like.
Yeah, what does? I don't really know.
Is it one of those?
Yeah, the TIE bomber has like the traditional
The curved wings.
the curved wings,
Ah.
but it has like the 2 pods in the middle.
Yeah, the dual.
That's right. That's
yeah.
because there's a bombardier.
Yeah, there's a bombardier, and then the other one is like the ammo
I
pod.
pulled that word out of my ass.
One guy's
But yeah.
to turn left, the other one's to turn right.
They're fighting for control of the thing.
We go this way. No, we go this way.
Yeah, that was what I remember thinking. Oh, I like TIE bombers, but I couldn't remember what they look like.
Yeah, because they had the TIE fighters, and then they had the TIE bombers, and then they had the TIE interceptors.
So everybody, when you guys played with Star Wars, or maybe you guys didn't. I'm older.
I did.
I had Star Wars. Me, my cousins, we all had Star Wars toys. And
I still do.
Everybody, and regular Alice got plenty of toys still.
Yeah.
But we all had our favorite ships. I remember that. Like my cousin Sam, he loved Chewbacca, so of course he was all about the Millennium Falcon. I was always about the Y-Wing. I always liked the Y-Wing.
The Y-Wings.
Yeah, the Y, and that was very cool to see the Y-Wings back in Rogue One.
Yeah, those were pretty cool.
But
Falcon.
I wasn't a big fan of the Y-Wings. I was always an X-Wing fan. Just
Yeah.
because the Y-Wings, I always sat there like, it's a flying goalpost. Like,
I always wondered, well, they must have like special fucking turbines on there because those things are the turbines on the back that were like elongated. I'm like, well, nothing else has jet engines like that. They must be
really,
like
yeah.
powerful or something. I
You
don't
would
know.
figure
In my
it would be.
in my child brain. That's
That's
that's the way I rationalize.
It was the most powerful vehicle in the galaxy.
I'm faster than all of you.
It could outrun the Falcon.
I have 2 flux capacitors on my Y-Wing.
I also like the land speeder that Luke had.
Oh, hell yeah.
The land speeder was like the hoverboard
Oh, yeah.
for a car.
It was.
mhm.
That was pretty cool.
Oh, from episode 4?
yeah.
It was like a hot rod. It was
Yeah.
like Luke's hot rod.
Yep. It was like
And George was a hot rod guy.
He did that
American Graffiti.
American
Yeah.
Graffiti.
So I always kind of pictured like this was George's like, okay, we gotta have a space hot rod. If you were 18 years old on a desert planet, you'd be cruising around in a sweet ride.
With a convertible top.
Right.
So like the Rebellion, so the Rebellion had the X-Wing, then it had the Y-Wing, then it had the B-Wing.
The B-Wing?
B-wing? I remember the A-wing.
Yeah, the B-Wing. It was basically, it was like a cross pretty much. It was like this, and it had little wings like this.
And did it fly like
Did it fly
that?
like the slave?
I think it would fly like, I think it kind of did
It
fly
had
like
one
that.
side.
No, it was basically like this.
Really?
And
yeah,
it flew like
and
the
like,
slave.
like the cockpit was like on top or something,
And it flew like the slave.
and it flew like this.
like Boba Fett shit.
Yeah, it was kind of in that same
I
one.
barely remember that.
Oh yeah, it was in the original trilogy.
Maybe they're gonna bring that back for 9.
I think it was episode 6. I want to say that you see the B wings.
Yeah.
I think, and then of course you had the A wings,
Yeah.
The A-wing,
which were
bad.
badass. Those were
Those
like
things
the
were
Rebel
awesome.
interceptors. I think was what
And
they
you,
were.
You saw a lot of those in the prequels. You saw that's pretty much what they flew around in the
No.
prequels, wasn't it?
Those were Jedi starfighters in the prequels.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. You
No,
don't, you don't
this whole
see those
time,
again.
the whole time I was thinking those were A-wings with
No.
like attachments.
Similar
to
design.
fly around.
Yeah.
Were they
Only-
rounded out? They were more rounder?
What Obi-Wan and Anakin flew in the prequels.
So it was pretty much like the
Oh,
Rebel
okay,
version
okay.
of
Only
the
Jedi had
starfighters.
them. Only Jedi.
Yeah, only Jedi flew those.
So it was like the A-wing was pretty much like the modified version for the Rebels.
Kinda. Yeah, I guess they're like, oh, hey, you remember that? Remember the Jedi, that ship they used to play? Because it was similar, but not. quite.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because if you well,
Wasn't
you know,
it?
I'm
A-wing?
going off of games and stuff, but those things were a lot more agile than the X-wings and stuff. They could take tighter turns.
Because the
and-
A-wings were the interceptors. They
Mhm.
were the answer to the TIE interceptors.
Right.
Mhm.
But weren't the A-wings dual cockpit? I'm trying to remember Hoth. Was there one guy in them or 2?
No, you're Hoth. You're thinking of the snow.
Oh
You think
yeah,
a
you're
snow
No,
speeder?
The
No.
A-wings were on Hoth.
I just remember snow speeders and some X-wings on Hoth.
Okay, so the things that threw out the cables.
That
Those
was
are-
those were the
snow
snow
speeders.
those were snow
Mhm.
speeders.
No.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
yes,
were.
they
Yeah, they
were.
were.
The
Those
snow
were- they
speeders
were
the
awesome.
only
I
ones
liked
that had
them.
the toe cables.
Google.
They were really cool.
I'm gonna have to say bullshit.
They were like they were almost flat.
Okay, what was
and-
A-Wing then?
I'm about to pull her up right
I think you only see the A-wings in episode 6, because I think you see it was an A-wing that crashes into the Super Star Destroyer's bridge.
In Rogue One?
No, in episode 6, I'm talking about the Super Star Destroyer, where it got shot, and you see the pilot and it's spinning and spinning, and he's like, ah! And then everybody's like, get off the bridge! And it crashes right into the bridge, and then it sends the Super Star Destroyer down onto the Death Star.
I don't know, man. I'm pretty sure that...
No, it was a snow speeder, bro.
He's like, no, fuck you guys, I know what I'm talking about.
Prove me wrong. Where's our facts, guys? Get on this shit.
Snow speeders were awesome. I like
Because that means I have misquoted a Star Wars vehicle
Oh,
for like
man.
25, 30 years.
Yeah, the snow speeder almost kind of reminded me
The
of
snow
Darth Vader's face, like the bottom helmet. It was kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a snow speeder. It's one that Luke they took down with the walkers.
I'm thinking a snow speeder was more like the speeder bikes, but like a snow version.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
those are.
Those are the A-wings.
Your internet is so much faster than mine. I'm still
And
loading.
that's what was on Haas.
No, it
No.
wasn't.
Oh no, that was Obi-Wan Kenobi's ship.
No, that's a Jedi Starfighter.
No, that's the Jedi Star. No, this
Well,
is the
Obi-Wan.
A-wing.
Really?
This is the Rebellion A-wing.
Okay.
All right, somebody type in
All right.
what was the
The snow
ship-
speeder. Snow speeder.
What was the ship the rebels used on Hoth?
Snow
What were
speeders.
the ships?
To take down the walkers. Yeah.
Let's see.
Those were
Here's
the
let's see.
Hey,
Hey, look at that deer.
wow.
There's two of them. Guys, there's
We've got
deer.
some wildlife right outside the window. 2 deers walking by in my backyard.
We gotta go. We got cows.
Settle down, Ginger. Settle down. I don't have any guns. I don't have. He's like, fucker, give me a knife.
Yeah.
I'll tackle him and stab him.
So-
I'm bringing my shotgun every time I come over again.
So let's just say modified A-wings were deployed by the Alliance fleet at the Battle of Endor. There, Lando Calrissian's command, Green Squadron, flew against the second Death Star. Once Han Solo's strike team brought down the Death Star's shield, Jake Farrell, whoever the fuck that is, and another A-wing pilot flew into the Death Star, broke off to draw TIE fighters away from Calrissian. And we all know the rest is history, blah, blah, blah.
What was that movie where all the animals are like going away from some tragic? Because there's something coming and we don't know about
They're
it.
walking opposite of Washington, D.C.
Shit's going down and the
That one
deer.
here,
are
she's
getting
like,
out
oh
of
god,
here.
I heard you.
Oh, yeah, so Green Leader was hit by fire and crashed into the bridge of the Super Star Destroyer,
That's
the
me.
Executor,
I'm Green Leader.
You're green leader, bro.
resulting in its destruction.
I took down the Super
Ah.
Star Destroyer.
And A-wings were also employed to the Battle of Jakku.
What? Oh, in the books.
Probably.
Okay, but what was the Battle of Hoth?
During the conflict between the First Order and the Resistance, Lieutenant Lulo, or that is, he was a member of Black Squadron and he piloted an A-wing.
What was the ship on Hoth?
Hoth was a snow speeder!
Let me see a snow
Type in
speeder.
snow speeder. Type in snow speeder. He ain't gonna believe
I'm
us.
telling you, dude, this is 30 years of my life. I'm wrong. That's Star Wars, and I'm not wrong about Star Wars.
Dude, that's crazy.
No,
It's
you're
a-
wrong about this one.
Sorry, bro.
Guarantee. The T-47 airspeeder.
Airspeeder.
Is that what they use on Hoth?
No, it's an airspeeder, but they used it. Oh, you.
It's a STEVs.
Airspeeder. I've never.
Yeah, see, it has a harpoon gun with a tow cable and 2 laser cannons.
Snow speeder.
No, airspeeder.
Same thing.
Well, now I'm just thoroughly confused. I've never even heard of an airspeeder.
The Mandela effect, bro.
Yeah.
I got a
you
feeling
go.
there's going to
Disney
be a lot
renamed-
more studying on this kind of stuff for the
It's-
next
it's-
podcast.
A contingent of T-47 airspeeders were modified to become ground attack low altitude fighters called snow speeders.
The Mandela effect, just
like
like
Jeremy.
Alright, tail between my legs. They were snow speeders. Apparently, holy shit, 30 years! 30 years, I was wrong.
Yeah, it's alright.
I even told my children the wrong thing.
Oh, now you're going to hell.
They're screwed up for life.
Man.
My son's Finn's favorite ship is the A-Wing. He doesn't even know what an A-Wing is. I'm gonna have this like Han Solo Kylo Ren moment with him. Like, you lied to me.
Take off that helmet. You don't need it. You're like, what, Dad? Never
All right,
mind.
I'm sorry. We're back now. Back to the podcast.
Sorry, them deers messed with Jeremy's head.
Deers.
I was tripping balls, man.
I saw a deer in my backyard. There were deer in your backyard. Oh, shit.
Another bit of news. 2 weeks ago, on this very podcast,
I gave my credit card number out.
The heads of the Star Wars were going to get together and basically decide Leia's fate in Episode 9. And they came to the decision that Carrie Fisher will not be recreated for Episode 9.
She's not CGI.
She's not going to be CGI'd in number 9.
Yeah, this was something I wanted to talk about today too.
I thought it was too soon.
I had initially, and it was a matter of 2 days. I had heard that they were, this was from Collider, who I often listen to, and they're pretty accurate about a lot of things, but they said that Disney was contacting the family to talk about whether it was okay to use her digital image in the future episodes. And then on the next following day, so maybe that was bullshit, and Disney was like, no, wait. Either it was bullshit, or Disney talked to the family and they're like, no, fuck you, or she's done.
You really can't talk to her this soon after she died and be like, hey, this is Disney.
Yeah, and maybe they will try again in a couple of years. I don't know. But I heard the same thing, that Disney was like, we are not going to use. So that brings us to an important question.
What do they do with her?
Right.
She's coming back as a Force Ghost.
So, well, you have to. Hopefully,
If they do reshoots, then they would have to kill. They would either have to kill her at the end, or they could do what they did for Paul Walker in the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Where
Find a lookalike?
in 7, where it was like symbolic. They just had him in his car and they just kind of pulled away,
yeah.
and it kind of went off into the sunset. Maybe they go in that direction. Maybe they'll say, oh, in lieu of the assassination attempt, it's like, oh, we can't take the chance anymore, so we're gonna hide you somewhere in the galaxy, and just go, so nobody knows where you are, so you can be safe or something like that. And then maybe she'll go off into the sunset, and then just kind of let her off like that way.
Mm-hmm.
well, this is what I wanted to bring up to you guys, because this is what they were discussing on Collider about the subject. If, let's say, because I've heard, and Corey, Mr. EPS guy Corey, shout out to Corey somewhere out there. He keeps promising he's going to listen to a podcast, hasn't yet.
Never does.
He's like, yeah, I heard that she was definitely going to be in 9, and actually was going to have a pretty big role. And it almost makes sense, especially if, well, first of all, her and Luke have not seen each other.
Nope.
We assume that they will in 8, but we assume that.
They are.
They are. There's a reuniting.
Yes, they are going to reunite in this one.
But Collider was like, so do they recast Leia? And I am like, fuck no, that's ludicrous. To me, that's ludicrous.
They can.
You either kill her and change the entire fucking story, or you put her CGI, which I'm not really a big... Because I was telling Ralph this, that I think if she... 3 years from now, she shows up in Episode 9, it's very soon.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're watching the movie, you're like, damn, you're totally into it, you're into this galaxy, and all of a sudden you see her, you're going to go, fuck, it's going to take you out of it. You're going to think about Carrie Fisher.
Now, right, and of course there's a lot of time between now and when Episode 9 comes out.
3 years.
Now, they can always change their mind, too, between now and then.
The family, you mean?
Well, either the family or the studios.
Right.
Maybe they'll approach the family again. Maybe there would be an outcry. I guess outcry is a little much, but maybe there'll be a overwhelming swell of support from the fans to say, you know, if this is the last episode, you know, then let her be the last, you know, the last hurrah. Mm-hmm. Let her finish this 30, almost 35-year journey.
She started it,
You know,
let her finish
when
it.
she started it and let her finish it, I guess the girl who was her body double in Rogue One, I'm sorry. I guess she said that she's down to play.
Well, of course she is. She's seeing dollar signs.
She's down to play. Well, I mean, she said she's down to play Leia in like a Leia story or something. Like maybe the gap between.
That's what they should do. That's what
you know.
should do.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, they're redoing it with Han Solo. Redo it with a different actress to play a young Carrie
You think
Fisher.
that?
Well, look at Han
Alright, so
Solo and
hang on
Harrison
a
Ford.
second.
They got a completely different actor for him
And
playing.
I'm not cool with that.
I'm
I'll
not
be honest.
either,
Like,
but there's nothing you can do because they're obviously 70 years old and one of them's dead. So what you do is you have a young actress playing like an origin story, her growing up or whatever, and then keep that same actress for episode 9.
So here's what Collider was saying. I'm going to pose this 3-part question to you guys. They were asking each other, okay, so if she is an important part of the entire trilogy, you either A, recast her and keep the story the way it is. Because the interesting thing is, they're telling one story, even though there's 3 movies. So they've already written the entire trilogy. What's his name? The guy that's directing this one.
Yep.
Rian Johnson. He wrote the next 2 episodes before they started filming. It was done. Here's the story. So you either A, recast her and continue on with the story. B, CGI her and use her that way. Or C, you change the entire story. So if you were the executives...
You'd have to CGI. It'd be a lot easier and faster and less money, probably, than recasting and for calling everybody back.
I have serious issues with Leia being someone else.
Yeah, I don't think the recasting would be the right direction, because I think a lot of fans would be like, no.
That's what I think.
You know, we
like
don't
in my
like
heart,
that.
it feels like wrong.
Yeah.
Like you're selling Leia out for money.
Well,
change the story.
Well, not only that, but it's almost going to be like you're going to be overtaking her legacy.
Well,
you're going to be taking a character that she's made iconic
and letting someone else finish
and cashing in on that.
Right. And letting someone else finish her story.
Well,
I'll be honest with you, and I told Ralph this after we saw Rogue One, which I never got to see the second time, unfortunately. But I said to Ralph, I'm like, you know, it was really interesting to me. I was thinking about Rogue One after I saw it and saw Carrie Fisher, Leia, at the very end. And I said this to you too. I might have said it on the podcast. That her career began with Star Wars.
Yeah.
And ended with Star Wars. And matter of fact, it was very weird that like she was in the same outfit.
Yeah.
Right.
2 weeks later, she dies.
I mean, the white outfit that like started her career. Like she was a nobody before Star Wars, and then 2 weeks later.
Not even. It was a week later. That next Friday.
So
'cause
to
it was
me,
Christmas.
you guys started talking about like, well, they have to finish the story with her. To me, it kind of feels already like she's already came full circle.
Yeah.
Well, I think like a week after her and Debbie Reynolds died, HBO released kind of like a documentary about Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds. And her brother was telling the story that Carrie Fisher's brother was telling the story that he's like, oh, and Carrie Fisher got she got the role for this little movie called Star Wars, and she didn't think it was going to be that much. She thought it was going to be a B-list movie. And then she does this, and it just turns. Obviously, we all know it turns into a global phenomenon.
Right.
You know, multi-billion-dollar business company, and all this, and we all know where it went from there. But it's just like she even thought that this isn't going to be big, it just whatever, and it exploded and turned her into a superstar. So it's like, wow, even Carrie Fisher didn't even think this was going to be big.
It's funny, we're talking about the prequels. It's funny to me, I've talked to a couple people, young people, that their favorite Star Wars movie is not from the original. Your brother.
Yeah.
Your brother's favorite Star Wars movie is Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like, what?
Yeah.
Blasphemy!
Yeah, like, how can... like, that's probably my favorite prequel, but there is no prequel that's better than the original trilogy.
Out of 7 movies...
And
8
I guess it's
movies,
just
actually.
kind of weird because it made me think when your brother was telling me like that was his favorite. It made me think, do I just love Star Wars so much because I grew up with it? Is that why it's? I don't know. I mean, it's a good movie. They're good movies, but maybe it's magical to me because I grew up with it.
Yeah, I think if you grew up watching the original trilogy, you're going to like the original trilogy more than you're going to like the prequels. Mm-hmm. But if you grew up watching the prequels, you're going to like the prequels probably better than the original trilogy.
And that's bizarre to me.
Which is in and of itself bizarre. But yeah.
Coming out, Ethan, Finn, Steph, they're all going to grow up with these 3 movies.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
it's
their favorite.
All of our children are going to grow up with this trilogy and be like, those were the best Star Wars movies.
I could see Ethan and Joe arguing about it now. No, this episode's better.
This
episode's better. And then we're going back in my day.
It was Return of the Jedi.
Shut up!
But you know what? I hope they're right. Because I have such high hopes for 8. I do. I really think...
It's a middle movie. Usually the middle ones are kind of crappy.
And this leads into something that I wanted to touch upon. Luke fucking Skywalker. So I heard reports that Luke Skywalker's powers are going to be like we've never seen any Jedi have before. I don't know if that means like pulling ships out of the sky.
That's what I'm talking about.
Which we should see because we don't see the extent of Luke's powers.
Right.
I mean, at the end of episode 6 is when he's kind of getting to the apex of his powers. He's just kind of learning, a little bit, and then you got this 30-year gap between 6 and 7. He's got to have gotten even stronger.
Where he had nothing but time to study.
He's got to be the strongest Jedi ever now.
Well, George Lucas, in an interview, years ago, before he sold out to Disney, was like, somebody asked him, so who was, if you wrote the story, who was the greatest Jedi ever? And he, didn't even hesitate. Luke Skywalker. Mm-hmm. Which is a little bit surprising considering the story is based around the chosen one, Anakin. But maybe George is thinking, Anakin could have been the greatest.
But
tragedy.
He never reached his potential because, obviously, of that horrific...
Right, that kind of... they always said...
Getting cut in half.
They always said, the suit... They always said, the suit kind of confined him, it was prison to him.
Yeah.
But about this Luke Skywalker thing, I heard... And I don't think this is true, because I think he would piss off some fans about this one. But it would be an interesting take. I heard he might be even so powerful that he doesn't use a lightsaber. And my favorite lightsaber of all time is the green one from 6.
The one that looks like Obi-Wan's?
Yes, that's my favorite one. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that lightsaber.
And I'm sure we're going to see it. It's not like he's going to go through the whole episode of 8 and he says, I don't need this thing anymore.
But what do they do? But what do they do with Anakin's original lightsaber? So think about this, because I was actually reading the comments on a YouTube video about this. So it played such a pivotal part in talking to her, calling to her. Right, it was a very important part of the movie of 7, and it has lasted throughout all the movies. It's the one that Luke first was given by Obi-Wan. Here's your father's. He didn't say your father's, but here's your father's lightsaber. So it's very significant, though it's not my favorite, and I don't think it should be regarded as Luke's lightsaber, because to me, Luke's lightsaber is the green one. Because that's the one he constructed when he
Right.
But think about this. So here we go. 8 is said to have, it's going to pick up right where we left off. The first Star Wars movie ever to the sequel is going to be like right there. There's
continuation.
The continuation. There's no time in between. So we're going to get to hear what the hell he says about the lightsaber that he's been given. And of course, she has to construct her own lightsaber. She has to.
Right. Where is it going to go from there? What kind of a dialogue are they going to have with each other?
Right.
And then how soon after this are we going to get that confrontation? Like how soon after will Kylo Ren find where they are and go and confront Luke and just have this epic showdown, the master versus the student,
Right.
and if the Knights of Ren are going to be with him,
Right.
too.
One person in the comments about this subject about the lightsaber is like, well, what will happen to Anakin's lightsaber if Luke has his lightsaber and she constructs her own lightsaber? Well, then what happens to the OG lightsaber, the original one that started it all? Which is a very good question. And one guy said, and I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. He said, well, what if Kylo gets his hands on it? And Kylo already has Darth Vader's lightsaber, or Snoke has it and gives it to him, and then Kylo wields both
The red
and the blue, the light and the dark, and of Anakin's lightsabers. And I'm like, wow, the cross guard is very much his.
Right, and they also said that in Episode 8 we're going to see a brand new lightsaber design.
Oh, really?
Different from the crossguard lightsaber too. So we're going to see another new design.
I wonder if that's Benicio del Toro's lightsaber that they're referring to, because they didn't say whose it was.
No, they didn't say who it was. We were just saying it's going to be a new type of lightsaber.
So what do you think? If there was a chance of him to wield both of the red and blue, that reminded me immediately, like Revan.
But not only that, if he does touch the blue one, does he get the vision too?
Will the blue one reject him?
Or will the blue one reject him?
Well, I was also thinking that Rey was so tied into that lightsaber, like it came to her over Kylo. Maybe she'd become like a dual saber duelist and use that lightsaber as well with the one that she constructs.
Yeah, because there were people in the comment section of this video saying, no, she's connected to this lightsaber, and so she'll just use this one. Mm-hmm. And I was like, but no, man, if you're going to be a Jedi, but maybe she'll never be a Jedi. Maybe she doesn't, maybe she's like, I don't know, maybe she becomes kind of like what, the other chick from the cartoon. Ahsoka. Maybe she's kind of like, no, I don't really want to be what you guys were.
She's gonna be.
I don't want to be a Sith. I don't want to be a Jedi. I'll just walk my own path. And then she
a gray
Jedi. And then she doesn't have to
choose.
Well, she doesn't have to construct her own lightsaber. I don't think. I think that's a Jedi rule.
That could be.
Of course, the Sith do it too, I guess.
But if she's this adept to her force powers already, at least to some of her force powers, who's to say that she couldn't construct a lightsaber lickety split? Mm-hmm. Like maybe her force power grows exponentially to where if she thinks maybe the blue one just goes and comes apart and like the Kyber crystal comes out, or maybe there's supposed to be an old Jedi temple on the planet where they're at, where Luke is, right?
The original.
So maybe there's a Kyber crystal that's hidden there, and it calls out to her, or she senses it,
right?
And then she uses that to construct a new type of lightsaber, maybe. Maybe it's a staff saber.
I was thinking, because they didn't. I kind of thought in 7, if that thing wasn't a lightsaber, I kind of thought she would lose it or ditch it, but she doesn't. She has it the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
She hasn't gotten rid of it yet. So yeah, I mean, it would make sense for her to have a staff saber. But yeah, maybe it's a light whip like Luminaya had. Remember?
A light. Well, yeah, that could be.
And you know what? I wanted to touch back on how the lightsaber had kind of bonded with Rey in the movie, and then I was thinking about what you were saying about how she could be tied in with Han and Leia, and how maybe Darth Vader is her grandfather. Maybe
Could be. Yeah, there's a possibility.
because, like you said, she got the vision. The lightsaber chose her to begin with. It could be that she's obviously could be tied into the Skywalker bloodline
Right.
and the light side of her grandfather, Anakin.
Right.
Yeah, that actually is an interesting point. What if they represent two sides?
Mm-hmm.
Kylo represents the dark side, Rey represents the light side.
Well, see, that's very much like the expanded universe. Again, I didn't read the books. I was married to a woman that read the books, and she would tell me about them. But in the expanded universe, basically, and Disney is kind of like cherry picking from it
Right.
and changing things slightly. But basically, there were twins.
Mm-hmm.
Han and Leia had twins, and it was Jason and Jaina. Jason
Jaina
and
Solo,
Jaina.
that's right.
And Jason and Jaina were both Jedi for a while, and then Jason goes to the dark side. And Jason was apparently a lot like Anakin. He was like, I want to rule the galaxy. I want to bring good to the galaxy by making people do the right thing. You know, his idea was like, no, grandfather was right. People need to be told how to act or what to do.
Right.
And ruled by force. So anyways, that's kind of how, and then they ended up, the brother and sister fought.
Right.
And spoilers, Jaina kills him. But that's kind of how they did it too, is there were twins and one was good, one was bad. So I don't know if I like that idea though, because it's already been done. And it's intriguing, it is.
It hasn't been done in the movies. That's the thing.
Right. And there's a lot of
if it
people
hasn't
out
been done
there.
in the movies, then it's going to be new to them.
Yeah.
If you haven't read the expanded universe or whatever.
Right, but I think that's a disservice to the people who did.
Right.
You know, people are going to go to the movie and go, what the fuck? I read this 10 years ago. I won't, but yeah, I don't know if that's what they should do. But yeah, back to what I was saying about Luke Skywalker, who is almost neck and neck, in my opinion, of one of my favorite Jedis, right there with Qui-Gon. But you're right, Nate, we never got to see that. Oh, God, I want to see what he can do. And for me, that's 50% of the excitement of Episode 8. Mm-hmm. I want to see what that motherfucker has learned. And when somebody comes upon him, how he handles. Is he going to be stoic like he was in Episode 6? You know, like he walks in the room and he's like, do what I say or I'll destroy you. Is that who Luke has become? Or he's been through a lot of shit, man. Maybe Luke is like, fuck you. And he's aggressive. Maybe he's like, you know, and maybe we don't know the connection between him and Rey. Maybe he'll become even more aggressive in order to protect Rey.
True.
But I'm just really excited about seeing what kind of powers. And one of the things they were talking about in this video was, well, what if Luke taught Kylo Ren most of his powers, such as stopping
blaster bolts. Exactly.
Yeah, what if that's just a little inkling of what Luke can do? We talked about this.
Right.
What if Luke can stop 20 blaster bolts in midair and redirect them at people? Like, oh my God, I need to see that. I can't wait to see something like that.
The anticipation is going to be, it's going to kill us as we inch toward the end of the year. I know we're already mid-January, we're already talking about getting to the end of the year.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just got with all this little tidbits of information that are coming out about episode 8. It's just like I want to see this movie.
So when the movie starts and we see Luke and he starts talking, you're just like, holy shit, he's talking.
Like, shut up, guys! He's good.
And the moment he does something with his force abilities, I could picture like everyone in the fucking room just kill him, kick his ass. That's gonna be an exciting moment as a Star Wars fan.
And just like you, I got so much anticipation to see what the hell he can do, because if you read the comic books, you hear all this stuff about how Luke has one lightsaber, yet in one of his battles he can wield it as if you are battling against 30 lightsabers at one time with just one saber. I am really hoping to see something at least come to a fraction of that amount of power. I'm expecting so much of it. Like the last movie, we were expecting so much from Vader. That's how I'm feeling about Luke with this upcoming movie.
It's a good point.
Because in the old movie, like in the original trilogy, you hear that Luke Skywalker is the most powerful Jedi in the universe, and then you see in the prequels, what these guys can do. I want to see them outplay. I want to see Luke outplay Anakin's lightsaber abilities in these upcoming movies.
Yeah, I think part of the appeal for me with Luke Skywalker is his stoic badassness. So, that's kind of the Luke I want to see. That the Knights of Ren appear and he's just like got his arms folded. Like, really?
You want to see a Yoda version of Luke?
I don't want to see him I don't want to see him taking a lightsaber and spinning it to the point of where he's
doing it like a General Grievous.
Yeah, I don't really want to see that. I would rather my favorite scene in all of Star Wars is the Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi. When he walks in and he's starts choking motherfuckers, you're like, Jedi do that? Wait a minute, yeah. And he's pushing people out of the way, but he's like, I'm not gonna kill anyone yet. I'm gonna give you a chance.
And you see the confidence that he has.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna give you this last chance. You just hand me Han.
I'm reason with you,
and I will walk away.
Right.
Even when he's sitting on that bar, he's like, Jabba, I'm get one last chance.
What does he say?
Come on.
What does he say? He says, release them now, Jabba. What does he say? Because I love that line. Release them now, Jabba, and I'll spare your life. Is that what he said?
I think so, yeah.
And Jabba,
foolish Jedi. Or
love
something.
that scene. And he's like, okay, I warned you. Three strikes, you're out.
Time to party and fuck shit up.
But I can just see that happening in 8, where the Knights of Ren ambush him or whatever.
Or right. Maybe they all surround him, and then there's blasters pointing to him, but he doesn't go for his lightsaber. Maybe just
right.
What are you doing? And then it's you're not going to reach for your saber? And he's like, no.
What if he just goes into meditation?
Or maybe he just kind of closes his eyes and he's like,
Holy
okay.
shit.
Then they all fire, and then he doesn't even move, and they all just stop right.
Or he just does one of these things where he raises two fingers or something.
I'm saying he doesn't raise anything. He just stands there, and they all just stop, and he stops it just by his pure will, and then it just reflects it back elsewhere
with an explosion.
and then
they fall down holy shit. Yeah, that's the Luke Skywalker I want to see, is that stoic badass that has uber confidence. He knows I'm.
And then you can.
Okay.
And then you can. Yeah.
I was thinking that you were thinking you want to see a Yoda version of Luke, to where like episode 2.
No.
At the end of episode 2, when Yoda walks in with his
Jeremy,
and he's like, okay,
Jeremy,
okay, now
this.
I'll do this.
He's not fucking Yoda.
Yeah.
No, it was then you can see Rey's reaction, oh my god.
Yeah, because to her, we've heard speculation that there is an ambush scene. I've heard that there's an ambush scene that Kylo comes to that place with the Knights of Ren. I'm sorry if that's true. Spoilers. I'm sorry. I'm not going to tell you guys much if I hear anything, but I did hear this. I heard it accidentally, and I was like, okay, but it's about Luke. I need to listen to it a little bit. And I almost want to see something in the beginning to where like Rey is like, holy shit, because remember she's still like in awe of like, I thought this was all bullshit. You know, she's still like, even though she's got Force powers and she's just learned how to use them, like she lived her whole life going, well, that's just not real. I've heard those stories. Luke Skywalker, is he really real? Is what she says?
Right.
And to see her face, like, what did he just do? And then, like, maybe that's her intrigue. Maybe that's what pulls her to, like, yeah, I want to learn. Now I want to learn. I want to learn how to do that.
Right.
Because right now she seems like the reluctant soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like, I have these abilities, but I'm more worried about where my parents are, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I could go on and on about Luke Skywalker, Grandmaster Luke Skywalker.
And with these movies that are coming out, I really want to see more movies made. How they're saying like Episode 9 is going to be the last.
Yeah, that's something.
I think it's just because I grew up studying so much about Star Wars and everything like that, and like my favorite Siths aren't even part of any of these storylines. Mm-hmm. I've studied up on Mark Ragnos, and I mean, my favorite Sith personally, my favorite Sith personally would have to be Darth Creighton. To see him in a movie, to see his storyline, and to see him try to take over everything and just beat the shit out of everyone personally, that would be I think that would be awesome. Personally, I think they'd probably botch that movie up. I think they would probably botch that movie up pretty good, but I would still be excited to actually see it.
Oh, I mean, there also could be the possibility that, like, the next saga that they do is that they go back and they do the Old Republic storyline and, you know, the Mandalorian Wars, and then you could also get into those great Sith Lords.
That would be great to see an Old Republic's movie.
They're not talking about ending all trilogies, I don't think.
No, I think
this moment in time, this current Skywalker saga, I think, and I honestly, after the way Rogue One has killed it, I think 9 is it. I do. They're having meetings, apparently, from what we've heard, speculated, about what the future is going to be. If they're just going to continue to do spin-offs, or if they're going to do other trilogies and sagas in different timelines. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think they're either going to go way backwards or way forwards and do several movies there. Because you got thousands of years to tell stories.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're making money. They're not going to walk away from these movies. That's the beautiful thing right now. Everybody being on board, and they're making all this money with each Star Wars movie coming out is only propelling more Star Wars stories into the future, which is the great news. But on the other hand, I do love this story. I do love this story of Luke and the redemption of the Skywalkers, and to see it actually come to like a final end. Kind of be sad. It will.
Like if they're getting sick of making Star Wars movies, then they fucked up at the beginning of Episode 4 when a slide came down and said, "A long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away." Bitch, you got a lot of time to make up.
Right.
Any more Star Wars news, Nate? Or moving along?
Let's see. Yeah, there's this novel just came out, or a Star Wars Catalyst, and it explains pretty much the origin of the Death Star.
Yeah, I heard it's a really good read, actually.
And originally the Death Star was going to be a weapon for the Separatist forces.
Really?
The Separatist forces were drafting this weapon to be the one to end the war.
Well, you know what? That's the prequels.
Right, that was the plans. It was a Separatist weapon that it was supposed to be. And Palpatine got wind of this and said, they're building a super weapon to take us out. We need to steal those plans. And so they stole the plans. He used that as an excuse to get his hands on the weapon.
Wow.
And it was created by a Genosian leader, Poggle the Lesser.
Yeah, he's in the prequel.
Right, he was in the prequels. Ooh, and of course he was later caught and he was interrogated by the Republic for 2 years on the location of the Separatist Death Star, which didn't exist. They never started construction on it. They just had the plans for it. And so basically without...
Did they kill him?
I don't know if they killed him or not. But basically without him, there is no Death Star.
Now, are you saying...
A bug created
the Empire's greatest super weapon.
Huh. Wow.
You know?
Now I'm confused on what timeline you're talking about, though, because the Separatists... you're saying that it was the Separatist idea.
This was a Separatist design.
To end... Okay, it was a Separatist design to end the Clone Wars or the 100-Year War?
Clone Wars.
Would it be around the Clone Wars?
No. Well,
I mean, it's during the big
3. Trade
Federation Republic War. So if that was the 100-Year War, or I mean, this was during the prequels,
right? Episode 3, we see.
So it was during that war, the war between the Separatist forces, the Trade Federation, and all that, and then the Republic forces. This was during that battle.
Okay.
And they drafted up the Death Star weapon, the plans for it. The Republic got wind of it. Palpatine got wind of it and said, we need to steal those because they're going to use it against us. Look, they're already building it. Mm-hmm. And so we steal it, and he's like, now I have this super weapon in my hands. So without him, there is no Death Star.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It's
fascinating. There's so many characters in the Star Wars universe that are
overlooked,
minuscule, but not.
But have a huge impact.
Think about the Sand People, who we think, they're just Sand People. Like they're just like, I don't know. When I think of the Sand People, I think of like what's the word I'm looking for? The people like over in the Middle East that don't have a home. What do they call those? God,
Ethiopians.
I sound like a fat American right now. You know those fuckers over there in the sand that don't have a home. What do they call it when they're the refugees?
Refugees.
Forgive me, my God. I sound like a wealthy, disgusting American. What do you call them? Refugees? But whenever I think of the Sand People, I think of just refugees out in the sand. Mm-hmm. But without the Sand People killing Anakin's mother, that's a big part of everything that starts it all. The rage inside of him.
And there was also kind of a rumor or something that maybe Palpatine manipulated the Sand People to kill his mother. He had his hand in it.
I think so.
To further draw him into the dark side.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I was really surprised to actually the Sand People, Tungsten Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
The Tungsten Raiders. I was actually surprised to find out that they are human.
They are?
Yeah. There is actually a Jedi who was a Tungsten Raider. He was a Tungsten Raider, became a Jedi, left the Jedi, became a Tungsten Raider again, and then became a Sith Lord by trying to investigate a Sith temple, looking to advance himself or, to seek more power, pretty much. And he became actually a very powerful Sith Lord and an extremely powerful dual lightsaber duelist.
So they just do the weird
yeah. That's just the sound that they
when they're in warrior mode, they're just
okay, kids, I need you to repeat after me.
I figured that was their language. I figured that was their actual language.
Well, that's what I thought at first too, until I actually started investigating different Jedis, and then I found out that one was a Tungsten Raider, and I was like, no shit.
One more thing I wanted to say about Star Wars. I don't know if you guys got any other thoughts, but I did want to say there are reports that there's an animated series coming, another one. So they're going to end Rebels. From what I've heard, they're going to end Rebels this year. There were talks about it was going to be one more year of Rebels, but I think they're kind of running into a timeline problem.
Right.
That they have to cut because they're only 3 seasons into it.
Well, you gotta think they could only go so far with it until they hit.
So, what do you think the animated series might be? You know, I should say maybe what would if they're going to do a cartoon? What kind of cartoon would you like to see? A specific character or a group of characters? I kind of thought it would be interesting to see a cartoon all about the Mandalorians.
Maybe about the Mandalorian Wars or something.
Yeah, I mean you could throw Jedi in there and Sith in there too, but focus more on the Mandalorian.
Or maybe like an Old Republic animated thing where you see Revan and Malak.
That's what I would like to see.
You know, and Darth Nihilus and Darth Sion and Darth Kreia.
Well, definitely if they're not going to do a movie version.
Yeah, if they're not going to do a movie
Then
version.
definitely give us an anime. And
not like a 7 to 10-year-old animated version.
Right.
We're talking like hardcore animated version. You know, like a kind of a gritty, dark type of
And
animated.
if they were to do that, go into an Old Republic style animated version, and they were going to tie in Darth Malak and Darth Revan and everything like that, I would like to see them start out where they were actually Jedi. Like
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Master and Padawan.
Yeah, and then show
and then go into, because it's a gray area. They went out into the Outer Rim, found this very dense and powerful new enemy that had been just laying dormant, and then all of a sudden they come back as one with the dark side. I would like to see more of that, and then start from the beginning to the end.
Are you talking about the First Order?
No, he's talking about
You're talking about Old Republic.
during
Old
the
Republic.
Old
Okay.
Republic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree. I hope it's a little more adult themed and dark. I think it's a good thing that Rogue One and the dark Darth Vader was such a success.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of made them go, you know what, we don't have to make this juvenile. The people who grew up watching this, they want to see the darker version of Star Wars.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully Disney, if you're listening, doubt you're listening to our podcast, but if you are, definitely consider things becoming more dark. Even the cartoons. I would love to see a really dark Old Republic cartoon.
Quit being so goddamn PG-13.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Take some tips from the Fox Marvel universe right now, which is a good segue.
To the Marvel, yeah, exactly. There was a photo released earlier this week which showed Ryan Reynolds sitting on a couch with Hugh Jackman and Pierce Brosnan. 007 James Bond, you know? So now everybody's talking about, is Pierce Brosnan in line to play Cable in Deadpool 2?
See, and I don't even really know Cable that well, other than just what little research I've done recently.
Right.
But the pictures, that fits. Like, you give him gray hair, like, isn't Cable an older guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. You give Pierce Brosnan's starting to get old.
Right.
You give him gray hair and he has that, like, sinister accent. Yeah, I could see that. I bet you it is Cable. I'll bet you. That's a
That would be
teaser right there.
that would be pretty badass if he ends up being Cable.
Yeah, they don't mean like in this movie or any of these movies, in a future movie, or do they mean
In Deadpool 2.
Deadpool 2.
Yes.
Does that mean that we get to see a little bit more of Logan, possibly? Because the three of them are on the couch? I mean, I know they're friends.
I know, right. And I know Ryan Reynolds has been trying hard to get him into Deadpool 2, and it's highly unlikely they're going to get him into Deadpool 2, but he does want to work a collaborative project with the two of them as Deadpool and Wolverine, and maybe another project, maybe, for lack of a better title, Deadpool and Wolverine.
So he's not.
You know.
So he's not necessarily hanging it all up. we talked about this today.
Money talks,
right?
you know.
And when it's your good friend with all the money,
right?
Come on, dude.
And like I said before, maybe he's gonna go the Robert Downey Jr. route. Maybe he's not gonna be in his own movie. Maybe he'll do a co-star in movies, you know, or do like a little part in a little movie like Tony Stark is doing, or Robert Downey Jr. is doing in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah.
You know.
The second and apparently final Logan trailer dropped. Was it yesterday? When did it drop?
It dropped. I think it was yesterday. Yeah.
And I just saw it today, and wow, that movie looks really interesting. It does.
It does, but
have you seen the second trailer?
I haven't seen the second trailer yet, but from what I've seen, you know, all the X-Men movies always piqued my interest, but especially like the last few that came out. But this one kind of seems like it's going to be like, okay, Wolverine Origins.
It's not.
It wasn't that great.
You need to watch the second
This
trailer.
one, I kind of got the same feeling.
You need to watch.
You need to watch the second trailer.
Second trailer starts out. Go ahead.
Yeah, because the second trailer shows. They actually show more of X-23.
The little
It's
girl.
the little girl, so you see her more in action, and you see more
see a
of
lot of
Logan.
her.
You do see a lot of her and how much of a badass she's going to be in this one.
Yeah, she's a fucked up little girl. I mean, the scene where she's like stealing stuff and eating Pringles, and the guy's like, "You gotta pay for that." And she just flips out on the dude, like and screams and stuff. And he's like, and Logan comes in like, "Not cool, not okay," or whatever.
Bad girl.
Right.
And then
Get in the truck.
You know, and then there's the Professor X is like, you know, she's like you. She's a lot like you. You know, when he was younger, and they're trying to get that father-daughter kind of relationship that they're trying to show in this. It's, you know, almost like a symbolic passing of the torch. It's kind of basically what this is.
I think story-wise,
he's hanging it up, and they said that they're going to have X-23. She's going to be the new Wolverine for future films.
And that's what doesn't sit well with me, though, because, like, I grew up, I mean, all the way from the fucking X-Men cartoons, where, you know, even freaking Beast wore this full black uniform. Like, I grew up with all that. And to just imagine Wolverine growing old, let alone dying, doesn't sit well with me. I think
they all die, bro.
Yeah,
they all. Every superhero dies eventually.
Yeah. But see, this is the glorious part of these comic book things is that all you got to do is introduce time travel. Boom! Portal opens up. Here comes Wolverine.
Yeah.
From another dimension. And that's how they can introduce him again.
And that's pretty much how comic books always solved. They would kill off Superman, whoever, and it would sell the shit out of that comic book. And then like a portal opens up. Like, no, here I am. You know.
Yeah.
They did that with Batman. They'll just do that in the movies. If he ever wants to come back as older Logan or whatever, 5-10 years down the road and make another full-blown Wolverine movie. But the reason this movie looks so interesting is there's great story potential. Because, I mean, instead of just like, they're not really showing you flash and big explosions, but the story of, like Nate was saying, like, he's tired of being alive. You gotta think about it from the perspective of what would immortality feel like? Would you reach a point where you're like, you know what, I've seen all of my friends and family
and all of my kind, pretty much.
And so he's like, I don't care anymore. Like he's become. My brain's not working today. He's become just like immune to everything. There's no more feeling inside of him. Numb. But this little girl sparks something, and I think that's why he's going to. There's the passing of the torch. There's this girl's fucked up, obviously, from what just little things they showed you in the trailer. She needs a daddy, and he kind of, I think, feels that like, maybe I can't die yet. I have a purpose. And then they're going to kill him. They're going to kill him, and you're going to see him die in this little girl's arms that you telling you, it's gonna be a good movie.
Yeah, it's gonna be powerful.
Yeah. Just watching Logan die on screen, because dude, that's Wolverine.
It's gonna be like Han Solo level.
It is. For me, I'm not a big Han Solo guy. I love Wolverine. I'll probably shed a tear.
It's like the worst fucking 2 years in life for cinema
I
for me.
can't take it. Gun in the mouth.
And I could see where you're coming from because shit, how old is he? Like
He's got to be
200-year-old. I mean, he was fighting in wars with freaking
He fought
the
like
goddamn
the
platoon,
American Revolution, the Civil War,
like
World
muskets
War
and
One, World War II.
Yeah.
And he's seen so
And hell,
much.
Vietnam.
and when we were watching,
That's why in that. That's
when we
why
were watching was it Origins, where you see him freaking what was he fighting, like redcoats and shit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
mean-
was like the Revolution, and then the Civil War, then World War One, World War Two,
Yeah, so you're talking
Korea,
like
Vietnam.
300 years old.
And that's
I mean-
why they choose in the teaser trailer that badass song, Hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a badass song. They're like, oh yeah, put that song on Wolverine. No, the music's saying like, man, this dude's...
That was Johnny Cash's last song, and
this dude has seen some hurt in his life.
And kind of tying away from Wolverine, when I found out that Wolverine and Sabretooth were brothers, then I went back to the original, like X-Men 1, the movie.
Yeah,
they
they
killed
should've.
off Sabretooth, and I'm like, no, you could have done so much with that motherfucker then.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Logan looks really interesting. I've been saying Spider-Man Homecoming, probably the big movie of the year for me, but maybe not. Maybe Logan. This second trailer really piqued my
And
interest.
we'll get to see it really quick because it comes out in March. So
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
So you know that's gonna be the first big movie that I'm sure we're all gonna go see, and we'll probably do a movie review.
Count on it.
Count on it.
You
I'm
know.
there. I'll spend my last $10.
Yeah.
Another little bit of news. The Rock, or better known as Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson.
He's playing Black Adam. It was announced this week that he's going to be in his own movie as Black Adam. So Black Adam's going to have his own movie.
I always thought of him as like the Luke Cage type. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be a cool Luke Cage.
Oh, with Rock?
Yeah.
Well, they already got Luke Cage.
I know, but I always thought like they could do something.
So they're going to have... So
It's not too late to change.
so they're going to have two movies. They're going to have a Shazam movie, and they're going to have Black Adam movie, or whatever the hell they're going to call it. So there's going to be two different movies. There's still a lot of details to work out on that, but
that is, of course, if the DC
that's if the DC universe is still
survives
Mm-hmm.
that far into the future.
Yeah.
Yes, it was something we were talking about today, and I know Nate probably wanted to talk about Wonder Woman a little bit, because I was excited about it, and I still am, but there's been some bad reports about the movie is all discombobulated.
Yeah, if you weren't a fan of Batman v Superman, early reports are saying that you are not gonna like Wonder Woman because it's basically the same thing.
That sucks so bad.
And it really does suck because I was actually looking forward to this movie because the trailers just made it look like such a badass. And the guy said that what you see in the trailers don't do that justice. It totally is not what you end up seeing. And that is gonna put DC in a lot of trouble because this is supposed to be Wonder Woman is supposed to be the rebirth, if you can call after one movie being the rebirth of the DC franchise. And if this thing flops, then Justice League is in huge trouble.
Well, two movies that have kind of flopped.
Well, yeah.
Suicide Squad.
Well, oh yeah, Suicide Squad too.
Yeah, Suicide Squad.
You know,
I mean, they both made money. Let's not be silly. They made a lot of money.
Batman v Superman made $900 million,
and I think
despite all the negative reviews.
And I think Suicide Squad made similar, almost 900 or something.
Probably around that too. So.
But those are movies that are costing the studios 500,000-600,000.
Yeah, but
million to
right.
make.
And if that happens, I mean, Ben Affleck has got to be writing some of the best shit of his life in order to resurrect Justice League.
I
mean, Justice League is going to have to win Oscars and Academy Awards and everything.
Well, he's also got Kevin Smith on his side too, so that kind of helps out.
I think what we heard out of Ben Affleck, the tweet from a couple weeks ago about if it ain't right, I'm not doing it, and it doesn't make any sense because he's writing it.
And actually it came out a little after that, kind of explaining what he meant by that. He's like, I'm working on it. He's like, I've got people that are saying, "Where's the script? Where's the script?" And he's like, chill out, everybody. I'm working on it.
That's what I thought it was.
And
so what script is he working on right now? Then is that the Justice League one?
No, Batman.
Yeah, the Batman one.
After Justice League.
Yeah, after Justice League. He's like, chill out, guys. I'm writing it. I'm getting it done. He's like,
and that's kind of what I'm
not going to rush into this.
He's like, I want to see what the Lego movie turns out like first.
Warner Brothers is like, so how's it going? And then he's like, listen, motherfuckers, I'm going to do this right, or I ain't doing it. Like, get off my back. You wanted me to write it. You wanted me to direct it. You gave me all this power, and now you're up my ass.
So he's like, you guys can suck on it. They're like,
That's
suck
Warner
on
Brothers.
what? He's like, these nuts.
That's what Warner Brother is. They'll cut it if they think it. If they don't like it, you ain't getting it.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about, like, that's actually what happened to Superman versus Batman, was that there was a version, which we may never see, that the studio said, no. And the studio stepped in and asked them to change things. Shorten it. We know they did that. But change the tone of it, change the themes of it. And maybe that's what's going on with Wonder Woman 2. I don't know. Because we were all excited Jeff Johns was coming to save the day. And not... It kind of like pushed, the way I looked at it, I was like, no, Jeff Johns is going to go, listen, Warner Brothers, I got this.
Yeah.
I'm the comic book guy. You want comic book movies? Let me handle this. But we'll have to wait and see what Wonder Woman does.
Yeah, I think we'll still go to see it and just kind of give our interpretation of it. I don't think it comes out until like May or June or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we got time. They've got time to kind of correct the ship if
But it
that
is
is
finished.
indeed the case.
But it is finished.
Right. Well, I mean, they could also do a quick reshoot, since maybe they can tweak scenes or something like that. If these early indications are like, I don't know, crap, we got to do some reshoots or whatever, you know. But you know, who knows? Well, and of course, this insider could be talking out his ass too. Maybe he has such lofty expectations for this movie, and they're not living up to his expectations, and he's like, oh, well, it's kind of crap.
Right.
That too. So,
see, Batman v Superman was always choppy for me. Like, you kind of get, okay, every Batman movie starts off with Martha and Thomas Wayne's murder. Okay, then go down from there. But like this movie, it just seemed like it skipped a lot. You know, it bounced a lot. You know, one minute you're introducing the Flash, and then, you know, then he goes on the computer, looks at all the files, and then the chick hands him the paperwork at the end, or, you know, it don't make sense. It's just real choppy.
It does jump around and bounce, and there's no narrative that it stays with.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I almost really, because I've already heard that Lex Luthor is going to be in.
Same kid?
Yeah. Now, a smaller part.
well, yeah.
But.
Jesse Eisenberg or whatever.
Yeah, I'm talking about recasting earlier. Recast that motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring back Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey. Yeah, exactly.
I think DC needs to work a little more. Like, in my opinion, they need to work a little more with, what's his name? Kevin Smith.
Yeah, Kevin Smith.
He's like the comic book nerd prince.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he knows so much about the shit. Why not use him?
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure he's got some great ideas.
He had that movie, what was it, The Death of Superman. He was writing that movie in the 90s, but considering...
Yeah, Tim Burton wanted his own writer for it and kind of just tossed the script aside. And
in my opinion, I think Kevin Smith could help DC get off their knees.
Well, he's writing a few episodes for The Flash.
Really?
Yeah, he's actually done a couple episodes for The Flash. I think he's going to be doing his third or fourth one here coming up pretty soon. So I mean, he's getting work in the DC universe. It just hasn't. It's not in the movies. It's more of the television thing, which DC is killing.
Yeah.
You know, by the way, they're just hitting it out of the park as far as the TV goes.
Well, you'd think they would take a note and say, well...
Yeah, you figure that they would. But, you know, there's a bunch of arrogant pricks up there that think they know what they're talking about or know what they're doing when they don't.
Anybody got DC's email?
Right. You know,
It's .com.
it's questionmarks.com. And another little bit of thing. Tom Hardy wants to play James Bond.
Really?
This guy wants to play everything.
I love Tom Hardy.
Now hold on. With Christopher Nolan as the director.
Oh, shit.
Okay, I can see that. Batman. Yeah, I can see that.
A dark James Bond.
Wow.
What did he want to play before? We were just talking about this last week. Wolverine.
Yeah, well, Hugh Jackman said, you know, if Wolverine was to go on, he's like, I want Tom Hardy to play Wolverine.
And Tom Hardy's more built bigger than Wolverine or Hugh Jackman is. He's more the comic book.
Oh, dude, if you've ever seen Tom Hardy with a beard, he is Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the way he's built, the way he looks.
Right. There's a show on FX that I'm watching now called Taboo.
I heard it. Is that good?
Yeah, it's
just started.
weird. I mean, it's just on its second episode, but he's got a beard.
Yeah.
And kind of like a little top hat almost, and it's
Yeah, I like Tom
he
Hardy.
really fits that part.
One of my favorite actors, and Nolan is my favorite director, probably. At the moment, I'd love this. If that's what they're going to do to try and reboot James Bond, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think that would be very interesting, because it's apparent that...
He could be Bond.
you know, Daniel Craig obviously doesn't want to play Bond anymore for God knows what fucking reason.
Daniel Craig, that's the blonde guy doing
That's the
it.
guy that's the
That guy is
Bond
horrible.
now.
He's a horrible
And
James Bond.
apparently he hates playing James Bond for whatever reason.
Bring back Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan.
Well, we were just talking about.
Yeah, we were actually just talking about that while you were
Yeah.
indisposed.
Indisposed.
There's talk about him possibly playing Cable.
Really?
Because there was a picture of Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, and Pierce Brosnan sitting on a couch, and then that got people talking, oh, is he going to play Cable in
could see
Deadpool
that.
2?
I can see it too.
Yeah. Every time I think of Pierce Brosnan, though, besides 007, I think of Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, yeah, that's
He
right.
played a villain in something. I don't remember what movie that was, but he played a villain in something where he was like a cigar smoking villain or something.
I know there was one where he played...
And he was good.
He played a hitman in another one.
Yeah.
Or something.
He's like an undercredited actor.
Yeah, he
He's
really
a really
is.
good actor, but like doesn't get credit where credit is due.
Right.
So I just want you all to know out there that I finally found Guardians of the Galaxy. I searched the entire galaxy from one end to the other, and I finally found Guardians of the Galaxy so I can watch it. So Jeremy is going to give you his review of Guardians of the Galaxy next podcast.
They're all like, yeah, we know what happens. It's been 4
Is he
years.
really talking about Guardians of the Galaxy?
You're like, oh, what a lame-o.
I'm so psyched to see that movie. I've been wanting to see it for years.
Did you know there's a raccoon in that movie?
Hey, you guys, there's a cool-ass raccoon in this movie.
And a talking tree.
But that's going to wrap it up for us. Another
right.
podcast down.
That concludes this episode. And tune in next week, and we'll have some more exciting news and topics to discuss with you. And until then,
Same bad time, same bad channel.
may the force be with you, and join the resistance.
Peace.